So let's just dive into what we're doing. We're doing a year of living in gratitude. And that year is all about every month we're having a slightly different focus. And for the month of July, our focus is on nature. Our focus is on how are we participating. Well, that's your homework. Okay, get going. All right, bye. Love you.
Hello, my name is Isabella. I'm just mom's daughter.
Out.
Love you.
And, that's part of my interdependence and interaction and cooperation and collaboration on a daily basis. So we have, as we're looking at nature, and for those of us that aren't even aware, when we look at even July, where does the name July come from? I did know this. I forgot it. I was reminded again. July is named after, of all people, Julius Caesar, who's the one that changed our calendar from running from March to March to a calendar that starts in January and runs through to December. And so he establishes the Julian calendar, okay? And so now, of course, we've got July. And while in some countries in July, like United States, there's a celebration of Independence Day, that's not exactly how nature works. While nature does have a space for independence, or rather not dependence, there is a place for interdependence in nature, okay? And so everything in nature is constantly changing, growing, creating, and diversifying. Everything in nature has a purpose for its existence. But everything coexists and exists under a principle of interdependence. So we've got symbiotic relationships. I mean, we also have parasitic relationships in nature, but we have symbiosis, okay? We have trees that each one is growing and gaining its nutrients from the soil independently, but at a root level, there is communication. There's even protection of each other, okay? And so we have, as human beings, living from a natural state, a need to create, a need for diversity, a need to apply our gifts and our talents in new and different ways, okay? We each have our own purpose and divine path that we're on. So if you haven't taken time in 2021 to have a moment and look at what is your purpose, what is your divine plan, take time in July. This is the month to really sit down in the silence of nature and contemplate what is all of the talents and gifts that I have take me to doing. Our talents and gifts make our purpose and our life easier. They're the things that we were given so that we could fulfill our purpose. So a lot of the times we're going with a good idea or other people's expectations, and we're struggling because we're out of alignment with where our gifts and talents make it easier for us to align, okay? And so one of the ways that I'm inviting you in July to really get in touch and appreciate nature is appreciating that place where you're so in touch with yourself, with all that is, with interdependence, that it becomes easier to find your purpose, your place in this world of what am I meant to be doing, okay? Another thing I want us to consider in the month of July is that we have 4 very natural qualities for survival. We have a keen attention. I mean, if you think about it from an animal's perspective, for example, the cat that I have on my lap right now, he's not being very helpful. Okay. But he has a very keen attention. When something catches his attention, it's all eyes. We all have a gift of keen attention on what we're focused on. But we also are given flexibility. Think of a willow tree that instead of breaking, bends with the force of the winds. We're all given, at some level, resourcefulness. And finally, we're given the gift of patience. And patience is not waiting, twiddling our thumbs. Sometimes patience is continuing to do the hard work until we see the results. Okay? And so many of the traditions around the world prepare their children with attention, with flexibility, with resourcefulness. And we're taught from early on, I hope, how to use these. Okay? But you need them not only as a child, but as an adult. If you look at your personal growth and your development, that keen awareness becomes mindfulness. It becomes that looking within and noticing the habits that you might have picked up before that were serving you that no longer help you. How do you change that today so that it truly helps you? Okay? We're also given flexibility, the ability to change, to modify our behavior. Even our neural networks within our brain are flexible. We can learn new ways of thinking, new belief systems, new patterns, new way of doing things. Okay? We are resourceful. What do you need in order to make the changes you want to change? What do you need? And finally, be patient. Be patient with yourself as you're looking at the changes, as you're failing perhaps. Maybe you fell back into an old way of being and a pattern. Starting over again. Be patient. Be patient with the repetition. Be patient with the change happening and maybe taking a little bit longer than you expected, and yet it's happening. Okay? Another thing we're going to look at in July is caring for this earth. If you're living outdoors this month because you're in the middle of summer, or perhaps you're in the southern hemisphere and it's the middle of winter, but caring for the earth is more than just noticing what's happening, okay? There's a Jewish prayer that says, "This is a beautiful world that I have given you. Take care of it. Do not ruin it." So what ways are we involved in taking care of this earth that's been given to us? Okay. I recently was seeing, and I'm trying to remember what product it was. It was some type of fruit product. And it was being marketed and sold either in the US or the UK. But the fruit or the product was grown in South America. And then it was shipped to Thailand for packaging. And then, like I said, it was sold in the US or in the UK. Now, for me, that is not good care of our earth. Good care of our earth is also buying locally grown food, locally grown fruits and vegetables, supporting our earth with small micro choices. They don't have to be large choices, okay? But we can extend resilience and care and compassion to the earth in so many different ways, okay? There are so many ways to attend to sustainability and to cleaning up in the majestic beauty of the earth. So it's not me telling you how to do it. It's you just making a choice of one of the ways today, this month, that I'm going to do it is this way. What is that going to be? Maybe it's cycling to work for a month instead of using your car. I don't know. But each of us gets to choose. How are we going to participate in this? Okay? Another thing I want you to consider about nature is in many cultures and many traditions, being in nature is retrieval of the soul. It is getting back in touch and connection with self. Okay? And we retrieve ourselves in the mountains and the deep forests, by the water, whether that be oceans, lakes, or rivers. and also even in the desert. So if you're feeling disconnected from yourself, maybe what you need is a day or two deep in nature, away from it all. No electronics, no company perhaps. Just a day of you in nature, or you and your family out camping, or whatever that looks like, where you're high up in the mountains, or you're deep in the forest, or you're next to a wide expanse of water, or you take a trip into the desert and you find yourself again. Finally, I want to look at some of the gratitude practices that we're going to look at in July. So as we're looking at the reflections, it's conscious awareness, it's mindfulness of what we're doing. So it's not about doing all of the practices, it's doing the ones that resonate deeply with you. And choosing on a daily, a weekly basis of what am I doing? So one of the reflections is, in what ways do you foster interdependence in your life, where you are part of something greater than yourself, where you're part of a group, okay? So how do you demonstrate, or how do you initiate cooperation, collaboration, and more reciprocity? Okay. A second reflection might be going out into nature and doing some soul retrieval work, whether it be the mountains, the forests, the water, or the deserts. Take a day, take 2 days during the month of July, and just get out and get back in touch with yourself by sitting in these special spaces. Another part of reflection might be looking at which of the 4 survival skills you need to develop more of, and also noticing that self-awareness of which ones are already well developed in your life. So is that keen attention and focus? Is that resourcefulness? Is that flexibility, or is that patience? If you need to focus on growing one of these, what practices are you going to use in July? Okay. Another part of your reflection in July is, what obstacles are stopping you or from keeping a grateful attitude, a thankful disposition as you're going through the month? Have a look at your current relationship with nature. What are you doing on a daily or a weekly basis to connect? And finally, have a look once again at the 3 laws of nature that I mentioned. Those are, everything in nature is constantly creating and diversifying. And secondly, everything has a purpose for its existence. And thirdly, everything coexists and fosters the principle of interdependence. So as you review those 3 laws, in what ways is your life aligned with those 3 principles? And how are you caring for the earth? So, suggested practices during the month of July. Each week, take resourceful action that supports, that tends to your local environment. Okay? What are you doing for ecological sustainability? Second practice patience. Okay? Notice the impulses that come through when we're acting, or we're driven to act prematurely. Who triggers your patience or impatience? Another practice you might consider is a daily prayer for the earth. Okay? You might, during the month of July, another thing you might consider is a nature journal. Especially if you've got kids, this might be a fun thing to do. of exploring outdoors and recording the animals, the birds, the insects, the flowers, the trees that you see. Writing a small description of where did you find them? How are they related to the other things around them? Paying attention and also drawing your children into that exercise. You might look at joining a group. Now, that might be a group that is of an environmental type, but it also might be just a group where you are building more creativity, where you're fostering collaboration and entrepreneurship. It might be business, it might be spiritual, it might be gratitude, something where you form a bigger part of a group. And finally, you're invited to practice giving gratitude for what you've learned about nature this month. What have you learned about yourself and your strengths as you've gone out this month in nature? Well, have a great month of July, and I will be back with more on living in gratitude in August.